Getting back to the basics here, we're going to look at value and form, so capturing light and shadow. We will look at a 5-value scale, light and shadow facts, softening, cast shadows, timing is very important, using, or should I have said stacking layers, and then the conclusion. In this demo, I'm going to use neutral tint for my gray. But as I've mentioned before, you can always pre-mix your grays if you wish. So again, I'll go do that one more time. Ultramarine blue, a yellow, and then a red. And then depending on if it's warm or cool, you can add blue or red to shift the temperature. So right here, I'll do a swatch. I'll add a little bit of water to it, which will reveal it, its temperature. And then I want to add a little bit of blue, so I'll make that a little bit cooler. And then a little bit of water to that as well. You can see that's just a touch cooler and a little bit cooler even still. So I'll do my swatch, add a little water, and there you go. So that is a good way, an easy way to mix your neutrals if you don't have a neutral tint or any sort of gray. But again, for me, I'm just going to use my neutral tint. Now I'm going to create a simple scale, starting with a dark, and then adding a little bit of water to each swatch. And what that's going to do is give me a scale that starts dark on the left, obviously, and then lighter as it moves to the right. And I'm going to use that scale for this demo. And a little touch up there on my swatches, maybe those were a little bit too light, and we should be good to go. Using my 4B graphite, I will draw my sphere and then my cube. And whenever you're drawing, obviously, for a layout drawing like this, try to use light marks if you don't want the pencil marks to show. There's sometimes I don't really care about pencil marks, and I'll let them show on my artwork. But for this demo, I'll try to keep it somewhat clean. So I'm using that kind of underhand grip, which will allow me to use lighter strokes. So now just some clean water to wet the sphere. Okay, so I'm painting onto, all right, a wet surface. I will add my light source, which is coming from the top left-hand side. Now, when you have a light source from, it's bouncing in all directions, but it's also coming down, hitting the surface and bouncing up. So underneath the sphere there, if you squint at the image on the right, you're going to see some reflected light. And that is nothing more than the light coming down, bouncing, and then hitting underneath that sphere. Also, the light is hitting our subject, which is on the top of the ball, the sphere. Right there, where it goes from light to shadow, that is called the core shadow. So you'll have a little bit of a light value there, but then it'll get really dark. And typically the core shadow is the darkest of the shadows. So again, if you squint your eyes a little bit at the sphere on the video here, you can see that. I'll include this sphere in the resources as well, so you can have a look for yourself. And of course, I know you want to try this project on your own, so you'll have that resource. So using a very, very light value, pretty much the first value on my scale. So I have a 5-value scale there. I'm going to paint the ball and the shadow and also the sides. And I can do this because when I'm looking at my subject, I can see there is a top of the cube there that is fairly white, and then there's a little section on the ball that's white too. But everything else, I can paint this very, very light shade of gray. And from there, I can just use darker layers to add the shadows. So there, I'm softening the shadow. So a cast shadow will have soft or diffused edges on the outside. So as a shadow moves away from its subject, it's going to get softer and softer, and typically it'll be somewhat soft or blended on the edges. So I just use some clean water to diffuse that. Now I'm going to remove a little bit of that paint for the top of that sphere. So now everything is good to go, but I want to start to add the next value to this. Now this is still wet. So again, you have to remember water is a conduit for the pigment. So as I paint this, I'm going to allow a little bit of spreading of that water. So I want the top left-hand side of that ball to be somewhat light in value. But I know that pigment is going to run into it because it's wet. But I'm going to come back enough to allow for that extra movement. Okay? So again, this is just where we're trying to understand and respect the fact that there's water there, so the value is going to move, the pigment is going to move. And now timing is important, so as I get to this next layer, I'm going to start to add the core shadows. I don't want it to be dry. If I wait until it's completely dry, then I'm going to have to blend everything. I'm trying to do this sphere wet into wet. So I'm going to wait until that sphere, and which I've done, is almost to that point where it's dry, but I know I can still paint into it. And now as you paint into a surface like this, again, timing is important. If you wait too long, then sometimes you'll get watermarks. You'll get those sort of cauliflowers. And other times, if you don't wait long enough, then of course all this dark pigment is going to run into the white of the sphere where we have our light. And I want to, again, keep that fairly light. At that point, and at this point I should say, I'm going to let it rest. I'm actually going to remove a little bit of pigment there for that reflected light. And again, this is still wet, okay? So I have to allow for that movement. I know the water is going to dissolve that. Now I've let this completely dry. It's 100% dry. And you can see where an object contacts another one, there's typically a very, very dark shadow. So I'm going to put that shadow in and then blend it. And now I'm adding the dark side of the cube. So here, again, that side of the cube is 100% dry. And I'm just adding a slightly darker layer over top of it. So again, trying to get those clean strokes and trying not to fudge with it too much. Now, where things contact on the ground like that, I'm going to soften that edge so that way it doesn't look too stiff. So let's have a look at the demo here. And truth of the matter here, the sphere, the shadow on the sphere is probably a touch too dark. The core shadow could be a little bit lighter in value, but all in all, I think it kind of gets that feeling of form, so it has a three-dimensional look to it. And hopefully we have learned a little bit from this lesson. In it, we covered a simple 5-value scale, light and shadow facts, softening cast shadows, so that outer edge of a cast shadow. Timing is important. Really understanding the wetness of the paper is valuable stuff for watercolor painting. Using layers, so how I use 2 layers to capture the darker side of the cube. And now you should have, hopefully, a little more information on how value impacts form. So getting your value placements correct is the key to capturing a 3-dimensional object. All right, let's cover another ball and cube here, but this time it's a red ball. So we have 2 different colors we have to contend with. We're going to discuss some reflected light. Same thing, softening cast shadows, timing, using layers, and then a little recap here at the end. So let's get started. I will use my same 4B pencil there to put the layout drawing in. This time using a standard tripod hold on the pencil, but still trying to get some fairly light layout lines. So there you go, got the shadow, now we're ready to roll. Now I will do a swatch test. It's always good to test your colors. And I just want to understand where what hue I will use for my darkest red, I will add some water to that and to get that kind of middle value, and then maybe one more for those lovely pinks, and that should do it. I'm not really trying to match the red ball exactly. I just want to get the idea. The goal of this lesson is to understand all the techniques we've talked about, working wet into wet, understanding how water is a conduit for the painting, dealing with gravity, and so on. I did add a little bit of magenta, or I'm sorry, ultramarine blue to that red for my shadow, so that I'll use that shadow for the red ball. And here is just a simple grayscale I will use for the cube. I'm going to use water and pre-wet the sphere. Again, if it's too wet, you're going to lose control. As you can see, the red ball has a little highlight right in there. So I'm going to remove the majority of that water, and I will do that again. And depending on how wet your paper is, how much water you use will determine how much this watercolor moves and invades that space. So whenever I paint around it, I try to leave maybe a little more space than I think I need. I tend to come up short most of the time, so I look at my tendencies. You may come up, your tendencies may be a little different, but again, we have to allow for that water to diffuse and move the pigment. And so now I will go in with a slightly darker color there and start to paint some of the main shadows around that highlight. We still have the bounce light effect. So if we squint down on the ball, you can see it's just a little, area there where the light will come up and hit the bottom of that red ball. And then also you were still dealing with a core shadow. So when we squint down, we can see where that light disappears and the shadow begins. That's going to be that core shadow area, and that's going to be the darkest. I haven't put that on the sphere yet. Now I'm going to use my grays for my shadow, and I know those reds are going to bleed into it, which is great. Anytime you have two objects near each other and they're different hues, you're going to have color that bleeds into the next object. So if you look at the shadow of the red ball on top of the white cube, you can see a little bit of that red on top of that cube. So the red is reflecting into the white. Now I'm not trying to get it perfect. I just need to know before I begin and acknowledge that, okay, well, there is red in the shadow. There's a red ball. There's a white object. The ball is sitting on top, so therefore I can almost guarantee there's going to be some red in that shadow. So that's kind of how light works, is how color works. So anytime, again, you have two objects like that are touching each other, look for that reflected light. It may not be a big deal. Honestly, that's not anything that I incorporate in my artwork. I don't really allow for reflected light, but for this demo, I thought it would be good to just acknowledge it, that it exists. And again, I'm trying to use this workout as a way to do things that I don't ordinarily do either. So it's not only for you, but it's for me too. So there's my swatch where I'm using my core shadow. A little bit of just a clean brush there, a little bit of water on it. And I'll just move that pigment around just a little bit. Again, I'm not using harsh strokes here. It's very light pressure into the surface. And that way it doesn't disturb that wash too much. I didn't really mention it in the introduction, but we're still trying to obey the not too many passes. Anytime you do that, it's going to certainly do things that you probably don't want it to do. So less is best. Now where the ball contacts the top of the cube, there's a little bit of a hard shadow there, so I'll just allow for that. And this is dry. This is a 100% dry. And so I can go back into that just a little bit and allow that and put that shadow in. And then here I'm adding a layer to the back side of that cube, which is slightly darker. Now, I don't know what happened there, but a little bit of a mistake there. I forgot to paint the cast shadow. It would have been good to have that cast shadow painted with that first layer. But hey, no big deal. I can still go back in now and paint that cast shadow. But again, if I were on top of my game here, I would have put that in before I allowed that to dry. Now look where the cube meets the surface, the table surface. Look how dark it is right there. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually going back into the white on white study. I'm also doing my cube study, and I'm adding a little bit of a dark line there. And if it diffuses a little bit, that's fine. If you really look at that shadow, it's fairly soft anyway. But typically, where the objects will make contact with a surface like that, you'll get a hard shadow, especially on the side that's in full shadow. So anyway, that's that. I'll soften that shadow, and we'll have a look at the demo. So there you can see a little bit of that. You can see that red of the ball kind of bouncing into the surface of the cube. So we'll look at the first demo I did, and now we've got the second demo. But notice how we still had that little bit of a reflection on the ball there. So I was able to get that even though I was working wet into wet. And there you go. So value informed demo 2. So using 2 hues. We talked about that reflected light, so the red bouncing into the white. Softening cast shadows, which I did okay there. I didn't really do my shadow great in this demo, so I apologize for that. Timing is important, as always. Using layers, so you saw me add the shadow on the back side of that cube. So I allowed that first layer to dry, and I came back and stacked a layer over top of that. And then hopefully what you've learned is that value is very important, again, to capturing form. Getting those value placements correct, or at least somewhat correctly placed, is key. If you're off a shade or two, that's okay. But the main thing we have to acknowledge there is that value is important for capturing form in a three-dimensional feel for our subjects.